Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, show on India's national television channel Doordarshan about Indian foreign policy, India's international relations and how India's rise is having a concrete impact on lives of people all around the world. Viewers, this is a special episode focused on changing perceptions of India seen through the eyes of a very special audience who is with me today. 47 journalists, media professionals and editors from 23 countries of North Africa, Eastern Africa and Southern Africa who are here on an India familiarization visit being hosted by India's Ministry of External Affairs. I am going to be talking to this elite audience about what they are seeing and learning from India, what the perceptions of India are back home in their native countries, and also how cooperation between their countries and India in different domains can be enhanced and expanded. My dear friends, welcome to India and welcome to National Broadcaster.
Thank you for your invitation.
It's so great to have you here. I must say, in the long history of my show, I haven't had as many participants before, so I'm really honored to have you. Let me start by talking about this visit of yours to India. You know, you're here visiting many places, meeting a lot of people around the country and also absorbing a lot of observations of this country. So I'd like to start by asking if some of you can reflect on this visit to India and what you've picked up so far. Anything remarkable or surprising about India that you've seen while you're here? Maybe you came with an impression of India, but now the impression is somewhat altered or changed, or maybe you've confirmed what you already had in mind. So if anyone would like to please come in and start by talking about this being in India and seeing India for yourself and what you're seeing and how it's impacting on your mind. Anyone?
Hello, I am Dalia Osman from Egypt. We know India. We are happy today to be in India, and it's first time to visit India. And we know India from movies, and we know about India Amitabh Bachchan. But today, when we visit India, we see the people in India are genius, helpful, and India play an important role all over the world, a significant role, and especially in economic. So we have a good impression about India today after we visited India. Thank you.
Thank you. And Egypt is very important for us. Egypt, we have signed a strategic partnership with Egypt.
Of course.
And we are two ancient civilizations, and our linkages go back to thousands of years.
Especially after the visit of Mr. Abdel Fattah Sisi to India, we have a good relation and strategic relation between Egypt and India.
And we are doing all these connectivity projects and attempting to expand the across sea and land.
Yes.
The linkages.
And we expect more cooperation in culture and media. Movies, especially India, have an important role in movies and culture.
Yeah, our popular productions, I know they get dubbed in Arabic and people watch it in your country.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yeah, we have MC Bollywood. They have a lot of movies about India and about the modern India and about the role of youth in India, how they play an important role and how they studied abroad and studied a lot of technology and arts. So it's very important.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Viewers, Egypt, very important country, and country with which we have long deep ties, and I'm so happy to hear from our friend from Egypt that our movies have an impact on popular thinking and imagination back there. That's part of India's soft power. Would anyone else want to come in about what you're seeing in India and your impressions of India? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. I'm Patience Makakula from Eswatini. We're happy to be in India, but my takeaway is that most societies have the have-nots and the haves, which is the poor people, and of course the other societies that are elite. So what we noticed here when talking to the municipality in Mumbai is that they have no plan of taking away people from the slums, outside of the city. So what they said was that they prefer to live together. So that's not normal. In normal societies, you have your suburbs, and then you have your slums. So I think that was it resonated with me. I mean, I thought, oh, that's a different society, people living together. And actually what they said was that they would rather compensate those people that have been there and not take them out. So I thought that was different. Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you. Our friend from Eswatini, a small country in southern Africa, is talking about public policy issues and urban, management of spaces and all these things. Any other impressions of what you've seen and heard? Yes, sir, please.
I'm Ogza Mukoni from Botswana. I started my career as a lifestyle reporter, and for some reason, India didn't appeal to me. They don't have the kind of dress sense that would appeal to most of the youth in my country or in the region. Although India has a big affluent sector, we've never really associated them with luxury and stuff. Unlike in Korea, the youth in Botswana would love K-pop, and then when you talk Japan, they will tell you about Harajuku. But then Bollywood doesn't have that, the same appeal as K-pop as Harajuku. And I was surprised when I got to Mumbai airport. I bought a copy of the GQ, the Indian edition of the GQ.
The magazine?
Yeah, the magazine. I went through it and I saw the India that I didn't know existed, where you see Indians who are very stylish. You see a lot of luxury brands advertising in there, and that says there is actually a huge market of Indians who actually appreciate the kind of lifestyle that will appeal to people, to the youngsters in my country.
Fascinating. Yeah, we've got a growing middle and upper class, and they're globally traveling across the world, and they have, this luxury market is also growing. So our aspiration is for the middle class to continue growing. Maybe like 500 million or so are approximately maybe are today in the middle class, and we'll want to expand it and double it. So yeah, the socio-economic dimensions of this country are changing. We are fastest growing major economy in the world, including in the G20. So wealth accumulation is happening, and with that, you will see that the so-called bourgeois values and all these things also increasing. So happy to hear this. Thank you from Botswana. So viewers, variety of reflections from our friends from across Africa. Let me continue with that. Any other thoughts about India to start with? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm Bernicia Cotella from Mozambique. Well, I know India from movies. In Mozambique, actually, most of the Mozambicans of my time, we grew up watching movies. So when I reached here, actually, it has been a very good and fascinating visit. Different, and the greenery of the city in Mumbai and here in Delhi is different, and I think it gives a special touch to the city. But I think one thing that impressed me the most is the transport system in India. I think it's very crowded, and I think that the transport system is well structured and also efficient. I believe that this could, if looking at the bilateral cooperations between Mozambique and India, I believe that our country could learn from India and implement, because we struggle a lot with transport. So I think this, if they implement, could better the living conditions of Mozambicans. And the food is good, although too chilly, but very good.
Well, there you said it. I mean, so interesting. Our friend from Mozambique, viewers, just recently our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, was in Mozambique, and they inaugurated a new railway that is built and designed by India, and which is now connecting some of your centers. But road transportation, yes, maritime, Mozambique is a coastal country. There's so much we can do, and I'm happy to hear that you think our public transportation model, our metro, for example, the train, the the subway is very, very efficient and fast. Most of the major cities we have them. It was not there like even 10-15 years ago, but now you're seeing that transformation. So thank you so much. So one of the points, viewers, that our friends from different corners of Africa are making is about infrastructure, and I want to go there because this group, some of them have been to Mumbai and they visited the Atal Setu, which is the 12th longest sea bridge in the world. It's an architectural and design marvel, and it connects two parts of Mumbai, and it's a must see and a must visit place for all foreign visitors. So our Ministry of External Affairs is taking some of them, has taken them there, and they also have been to National Payments Corporation of India, right? And this deals with the digital infrastructure, not the physical infrastructure. It manages a lot of the online apps for e-governance and delivery of welfare services and all these things. So I want to talk a bit about infrastructure, because this is one thing we are proud of. In the last 11 years under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there has been a fast forwarding of the infrastructure projects in this country. You know, we were very far behind before 2014, but now you see a rapid transformation. So roads, bridges like the Atal Setu that you saw, ports, seaports, railways, power plants, all the core infrastructure is being built at a record pace. It's like a revolutionary change. And China, for example, did that like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the kind of like fast paced infrastructural upgrades. And we are seeing that now in India. We are also witnessing that, and I believe this is the most path breaking change that's happening in this country. So you have seen our Atal Setu in Mumbai, some of you. Any impressions of that, and also of the infrastructure that you're seeing? Of course, there are still huge gaps in infrastructure between big cities and smaller centers, and there are still imbalances. There are still remote areas where we don't have the best, but we are scaling up. Every passing day we are doing record amount of new building and construction. So if you come back another 5 years or another 10 years, maybe you can't recognize many of these places because there's been more infrastructural upgrades. So any thoughts on this modernization of India that you're seeing, what you've seen so far, and on the infrastructure? Yes, sir.
My name is Biri Kazoka from Zambia. Yes, first of all, I would like to thank the Indian government through the Ministry of External Affairs for giving us this opportunity to be here. It's my first time to be here. I've never been to India. I just used to read about it when I was young and went to school. So it's been a pleasure to be here. But before I come to the issue of infrastructure, I think what has really struck me most is the hospitality of the Indian people. They are very, very friendly. Very, very friendly. Everywhere we have been to, we have been received in a very, very touching manner, so to say. So that one, we say thank you very much. As for infrastructure, I think my impression, I think is really a striking lesson to take back home. Because Zambia is a developing country, and our government, our president is emphasizing on infrastructure as well. And I think we have a lot to learn from India. And we look forward to continued partnership, because the emphasis of our government is public-private partnerships with different countries, and I think that India would do a lot to help us in terms of infrastructure development, going by what we have seen so far here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My friend from Zambia says that our model could be an inspiration for his country's infrastructure upgrades. All of us are from the global south, and we all suffer from the infrastructure deficit. And as you know, poor infrastructure means lower economic growth and lower living standards, right? So the only pathway, and this is not only physical but also digital, and India is now doing so well in digital public infrastructure, as we call it, DPI, where we're building a whole range of services which are phone based, for payments and for transactions and for paying your bills and for making life simpler and quicker and more efficient. So those kinds of changes are happening. The digital infrastructure is actually a revelation also. It's not just the buildings and the brick and mortar. Any other thoughts? Those who've seen the Atal Setu, or any other impressions about the infrastructure changes you're seeing? There is a goal for the centenary set by Prime Minister Modi for 2047 is the centenary, 100 years of India's independence. We aim to be a prosperous nation and a developed country. So this is the time when we are accelerating all these core developments so that we can then take off, and fly fast. Any other thoughts on the economic modernization and changes? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Farida Kulumba from Uganda, working with Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. For me, I would like to talk about infrastructure. I was here, my first time was in 2015. And by then, I thought India was one of the developed countries compared
Already?
to where, yes, that was it. And if you compare India of 2015 with India of today, they are totally different. India has developed so much in terms of infrastructure, which makes it look so beautiful and so developed. India, they are working hard in that area. Thanks so much. And I would wish when it comes to maybe road constructing, I don't know how we can cooperate, my country can cooperate with India in terms of road constructions, because there is a challenge in that area. Another thing I've noticed, India cares so much about environment. This can be noticed in the way water is served in public places. I've been noticing they use so much of glass, at least glass bottles. They will never serve water in plastic bottle. Free water is served. It's up to you to buy a plastic bottle water, but for them, they will not serve you.
Yeah,
that
and we have
impressed me.
banned single-use plastic. It's not allowed. So even if there is, it has to be like recycled. So yeah, I mean, we have a trash problem. We have issues with urban waste and all these things, right? So we're trying to minimize the plastic. It's an effort. Yeah.
And I don't know how India does it, but there is a way where no one can get thirsty due to water in India. Water is for free. Even in the restaurant, you only, maybe you're worried of getting money to buy food, but water, you'll get it, even along the road, which is not happening in my country. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, it's we have a whole ministry dealing with these matters, and they make an effort. But thank you, my friend from Uganda, another important country with whom we have long relationships. Where we have a diaspora present there of Indian origin. I'm sure we are already doing some projects in Uganda, and we may need to scale up and do more. Any other thoughts on this matter before we move to other subjects? Yes, sir, please.
My name is Silence Mkadzwaita. I'm from Zimbabwe. Indian investments in Zimbabwe, they are around 600 million. And I think Zimbabwe adopted a low-cost policy after sanctions and bad relations with the West and the US. But what I'm not seeing is because if you look at your infrastructure, you're developed more than Zimbabwe. Then if you look at the investments that are in Zimbabwe that are from India, they're about 600 million, which is not much. Which means there is just as much limited partnerships in terms of bilateral relations. But then it gives me an impression that, it may not be different from the old times of, I think, where probably India is just looking at where there are huge benefits. Like if you look at Egypt.
Next door in South Africa, we have much more investments there. Yeah.
Yes, which means the disparity there, that is Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi. It speaks of this, where we can call it bilateral, but there's this huge disparity in terms of investments, which means we may not be offering much, so your interest will be minimal, and your presence will also be minimal.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you, my friend. Thank you. So our friend from Zimbabwe is talking about imbalances and differences in the level of Indian involvement in their region in Southern Africa. You're right. I mean, and you know, it's not just the state, right? It's also private companies. So they decide on the basis of the return on investment and the stable, you know, legal system and the, you know, dispute resolution and availability of labor and all these factors. But we must in fact, you know, in Africa, at one time we didn't have even embassies and high commissions in all countries. You know, now gradually we are expanding and increasing our footprint. And India, Africa, if you take the whole continent, the bilateral trade touched more than $100 billion. So per annum. So what I'm saying is that it's growing, and I think the potential will grow as we see more potential. You know, and of course, all of you here who are journalists should also advocate for greater Indian presence and investments in your country. Talking of journalists, I want to. You're all in this profession. You're all media people. Now, how much coverage of India happens in your country? I mean, we would like to know, are your readers and your viewers of your content, are they quite familiar with India or not so much? Do they know about some of these positive changes that are happening in India that you are all seeing and talking about here? If not, how can we increase the coverage of India and its role and its both domestic as well as international positions on various issues? How familiar are your audiences about India, you think? Is it sufficiently covered or not so much, and we need to increase this you know, visibility of India, and if so, how can we do it in your media? Yes, sir.
नमस्कार सबको मेरा नाम जमाल from Mauritania.
क्या बात है?
I am a journalist, reporter and photographer.
Mauritania is in West Africa. That region is geographically a little far away from us.
Little far, yes, but about the movie, about the documentary and the movie India, and you know, India, it's Baradesh hai, or different culture, the different religion, and yeah, really democracy. For me, it is really democracy, and India is bara economic, bara.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts on how India is covered in your countries, and can we increase the visibility of India? Is it being sufficiently covered? Yes, ma'am.
I am Nihal Samir from Daily News Egypt. Okay, for the Egyptian people, usually they know India, Amitabh Bachchan, they know India, Taj Mahal, but they don't know the exact culture of India. They know somehow the most popular things. Of course, as journalists have a role in Egypt, and we did a huge role in covering the Indian news and in covering how now India is being developed and so on. But of course, not like being here and seeing on the ground and then transferring this to the people in Egypt. But when we return back to Egypt, so of course, we still need more programs like this one in order to transfer, and more documentaries maybe that is produced between Egypt and India. This might help because there are a lot of similarities, and Egyptian people are familiar with this, that there are a lot of similarities between India and Egypt in terms of the culture and the rich history. So me myself, I was so curious to see on the ground the similarities. So of course, having shared documentaries produced by India and Egypt about the similarities between the two countries, because there are a lot of similarities, will be good.
Excellent idea. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, content that is shared is very critical, isn't it? I mean, a lot of media houses do agreements with the foreign partners, so that, you know, something that we may produce here may be of value and can be aired in your country, you know, on your television or on your radio or on your digital platforms. There are many such agreements that our diplomats and our embassies and high commissions do, and our ministries do, to facilitate content sharing. Maybe that is one idea, a good idea where we can increase the familiarization. Of course, our movies are popular, like many of you are saying, but that's not the only thing. And at the end of the day, the movie is fictional, right? I mean, it's not showing the genuine reality. So maybe documentaries, it's a good idea, right? I mean, they are realistic, not fictional. Those can be of educative value. Any other thoughts on how we can, media houses in your organizations, for example, can work with ours? Today you are at the national broadcaster in Doordarshan. You are also visiting the Asian News International, ANI, which is one of our top wire agencies, private wire agencies, that produces a lot of content, text as well as video and audio, which is distributed worldwide. So any ideas as journalists on how we can increase this sharing of content?
My name is Gabriel. I am from Malawi. I work for a private broadcast house, so television, radio, and online. In my country, not much about India is discussed in the media. However, there are things that the Indian government is doing in my country that are broadcast, and we work on things like the documentaries that we're talking about. For example, not long ago, we were covering a story of a project where the Indian government is helping people with prosthetics limbs.
Artificial,
Panju, and thousands of people. There's a problem of diabetes in Malawi. There's a high rate of accidents, road accidents in Malawi. The children born with deformities that are benefiting from this kind of projects. So we've been doing documentaries on this. There's a story about what we're calling solar mamas. These are women that
trained
village women that come to India and are getting trained on
we have the Barefoot College here.
Exactly. And then they go back home to help their communities, light up schools and other things, maintain the infrastructure that's put in place, and then increase the social economic welfare of people in rural communities. So those stories we do tell. But to tell the story of India, maybe now that that I'm here, alighting from my plane and I see the number of skyscrapers, that exactly tells me where India is going.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, viewers. Our friend from Malawi is talking about the development cooperation that we do with global south countries like his, where there are things that we implement on the ground which enable healthcare and economic growth and livelihoods of our brothers and sisters in those countries. So this is actually an untold story, the kind of skill building and capacity building that India does. But another important point our friend is making is that while those kind of projects get coverage in the countries as to how India is benefiting them, what exactly is happening within India domestically, all the transformations that we're talking about, that is probably not as well covered. So these kind of visits help, because these journalists are very influential people in their countries. They go back and then they will maybe rewrite the India story. Any other thoughts on how we can promote the media to media linkages and mutual understanding, better understanding? Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed Saeed Arabat. I'm a Moroccan journalist representing As-Sahifa, which is a Moroccan online newspaper. In terms of media coverage, we have started focusing more on India in recent years due to the growing ties between New Delhi and Rabat. The two countries have signed many cooperation agreements in recent years, including defense. As you may know, Morocco is building its domestic defense industry, and India was among the first countries that we looked to. So for this reason, we are going to focus more on India. And in terms of media partnership, we are in Sahifa open to sign and to have a relation with our colleagues and counterpart in India here.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, very interesting aspect he has raised. Morocco, important country in northern Africa, in the Maghreb region, has a defense partnership with India. India also has defense partnership with a lot of countries in the eastern and southern Africa. And this is one area apart from the development cooperation, where we are looking to do more defense diplomacy also. India has become an exporter of high quality but low cost weaponry in the last few years, and we are building the capacities of a lot of friendly countries in Africa to manage security challenges. So we have a similar problems. Many of the countries in your regions are affected by religious extremism and fundamentalism and terrorism, and we have a similar a threat here. So there is so much that we can do in terms of intelligence sharing, and also specific hardware, military hardware which can meet the needs. Let me stick to that point for a bit more. Security and peace are so central for all of us, but many of our developing countries, we struggle with this. We have a lot of internal challenges, also interstate conflicts and disputes, and sometimes even wars. Yeah, and these are the worst because they really push us back in terms of economic development by decades, right? Some of the wars have been very devastating. So in terms of peace and security and defense, do you see more potential, what we can learn from each other, how India could be of greater assistance?
Hello, I'm Nassim Mashri from Algeria. Our both countries suffered from extremism, terrorism, especially from Pakistan. We know that our both countries need to work together especially in the counterterrorism aspect. We had some exchanges between our Vice Minister of Defense went to India recently, and even a delegation of MPs came to Algeria this month, talking about counterterrorism and how we can work together. Especially Algeria has a long experience in counterterrorism. We suffered a lot from especially in the 90s. So we can work together in this area.
Exchanging information, intelligence,
Yeah.
and also tactics and strategies, right? I mean, counterterrorism, ultimately the militaries, there are a lot of trainings that we do, jointly, the armed forces, all these things are very important, isn't it?
And even we're buying weapons from India now.
Happy to hear that. Thank you, my friend. Algeria, they've suffered a so-called civil war and all these things in the past, and that region, Sahel and above, is exploding with a lot of violent extremists, and it's a major threat. And it's interesting you also mentioned Pakistan, because we have a problem in this region and we are also trying to counter that. So definitely there's a lot of cooperation happening. Our approach to the Middle East or West Asia and that region has also become more security focused now. So, and of course with Africa we are also enhancing a lot of defense cooperation. Okay, moving on. Some of you are going to be going to Bengaluru, one of our major cities in the south, a thriving technology hub, and you are going to be visiting the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. It's on your itinerary, and you're also going to a very popular generic medicine manufacturer called Biocon. Generic drugs are so critical for public health in developing countries. So you're going to be seeing slices of advanced science and technology in India. In some certain areas, for example, like space, India has become a major player. We landed on the side of the moon, which no other country has managed to, for example, through one of our lunar missions. And our space missions generate a lot of benefits. There are many countries in the developing world who want to develop their own indigenous space programs, and they would want greater cooperation and knowledge transfer from India. Public health is another area where the generics, also during the COVID-19 pandemic, you remember, like we were manufacturing millions and millions of doses of the vaccines that were going to many parts of Africa. So this area, science and technology, is there potential? I know some of you cover this as part of your journalism, your stories, and South-South cooperation in science and technology is a growing area, because the idea was always North-South, right? Like rich countries giving to poor countries, or we getting some aid or donations, or we asking them for help. But now we're talking about two-way transfer and doing it among ourselves as developing countries. So anything anyone would like to come in on science and technology, digital, these are the areas where India is now making a name for itself.
My name is Eliud Kibi from Kenya. I work with Radio Africa Group. So I would tie that with the previous question. Of course, Nairobi has become the ICT hub for the Eastern region. And of course, now with the previous question in terms of the cooperation in the defense, between the two countries, of course, we've seen a lot of this within the Navy. And the two delegations, our defense minister was here, I think in August of 2023. We have seen the delegation from India also going to Kenya for these discussions on, the Joint Defense Cooperation Committee. And among the areas of engagements have been how to, leverage on technology in terms of defense cooperation. So I think that's one of the ways in which this has been used in, the cooperation has used ICT.
And the science and technology hub, I mean, how can we, for example, invest or have your young people, for example, could come and train in, artificial intelligence or, advanced quantum computing and those kinds of fields? Because that's the exciting area where, we can, in 10, 15 years, we can change our countries, if we invest in the human resources, of these.
Yes, this is already ongoing. One of the universities called Jomo Kenyatta International Science and Technology, there's a program in which there's like transfer of knowledge, between Indian, tech companies and Kenyan tech hubs. So this is already ongoing. I don't know how far it has gone, but it's something that has been ongoing since I think 2022 years.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, and India has also set up branches of the, our famous Indian Institutes of Technology, IITs, in many parts of the world. There's one in Zanzibar now, off the coast of Tanzania. So we are looking to do more such things where our professors can actually skill and train the next generation of young Africans with advanced know-how in these cutting-edge fields. Any other thoughts on knowledge transfer and what you may have seen or what we could gain from each other? Knowledge and science and technology, innovation?
Well, I think technology is quite important. It is driving a number of economies. But I think I would relate to relations. A lot of Zimbabweans come to tertiary institutions in India. But these are mostly private. You locate your university, you do whatever is needed, and then you come, you get your degree or diploma. But I would prefer something that is driven at government level. For example, we have around 14 state universities, and we have a pool of human resources in Zimbabwe. But then the technology, I think we lack that. The STEM subjects, we lack those. So I would prefer that the relationship will be built on mutual beneficiation. We have a lot of people who are knowledgeable, but we may not have the infrastructure or the funding for research. So I think that area would help both countries.
Thank you. That is where, ultimately, if we are able to build the human resources of our people, that is our strength, right? The strength of Africa is its people, right? So if we can build those for the next generation, that is the big change. We've spoken about different areas, but there's one area that impacts all of us negatively, and which is like a mega crisis of our times, which is climate change. And be it coastal or inland countries, all of us are facing tremendous pressure from extreme weather events and rising sea levels and deforestation and forest fires and unseasonal rains and floods and natural disasters. I mean, we can't even call them natural disasters because we know these are human-made problems. So during this trip, some of you are also going to be visiting our interesting new institution that India has created, an international institution called the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. It is meant to help fellow developing countries to build those sea walls and the barriers and to adapt to the climate change. One is the mitigation, which we are all struggling to do, but also how to prevent the worst damage that is coming from climate change. And even in the international fora, like the Conference of the Parties of the UN, India always supports other developing countries to take a joint unified stand on these matters so that we get more compensation for the climate damage that has been done by rich countries. So on these issues, what are the problems and challenges your countries face, and do you see a way in which we in India we have been relatively very good at managing disasters, and we have a National Disaster Management Authority, and we minimize the loss of life during cyclones and hurricanes and floods and these sort of things, and we are also trying to adapt to these adverse effects of climate change. So and also trying to move to green technology, transition to green technology through frugal innovations instead of just depending on some aid from rich countries. So climate change crisis, can we try and find a way in which we can deepen our cooperation?
My name is Julian Samboko from Kenya. One of my highlights of this trip was to travel to Mumbai and find out that the largest dump site in Mumbai is in the process of beginning to monetize the scale back of the carbon footprint through the earning of carbon credits. I think that's a very pivotal step. I think there's a lot of cooperation in terms of how we can replicate that, especially in areas in Africa which are struggling with the urban sprawl like Nairobi, Kinshasa in DR Congo, etc. But I think more fundamental to that point is we need a conversation around South-South cooperation on a just carbon credits market. Because if the pricing is still determined in markets which are extraneous to us, we'll still be disadvantaged on that front. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend from Kenya. He's talking about urban waste management, and you can even monetize it. Interesting experiment that we are doing here in India, and carbon credit mechanisms. These are all generally, historically, they've been loaded against us in the global south, because the ideas and even the implementation structure and the proposals are generally tabled by richer countries. So we are like just receiving it rather than designing it ourselves. So we have to take the reins into our own hands, and the only way we can do it is through cooperation and mutual learning. Any other thoughts on climate issues and disasters and these sort of things?
My name is Musa Sayon Kamara from Mali. I'm working for the newspaper called L'Indépendant in French. So for climate change, I think, for example, when I came in India, especially in New Delhi, because this is the only place I visit for the time being, the first thing I noticed is that there is many trees in different trees. So that is one of the things that is important, because if we want to fight against climate change, it's very important to have trees everywhere and to make a kind of green life in the different towns. So I think with such kind of initiative, India and other countries can do cooperations and also share different experiences in terms of fighting against climate change. For example, you are talking about the fact that India succeeded to reduce the number of deaths related to flooding or something like this. For example, during the rainy season in my country, sometimes we face such kind of challenge about flooding. So if it is possible that India and the other countries also share the experience in terms of fighting against flooding and other stuff or matters related to climate change, I think this may be also a good strategy for your country to help other countries and also other countries to learn from India.
Thank you, my friend. Mali, yeah, I mean, desert regions, Sahara, Sahel, that region has similar problems to what we have. We also have a large desert here in northern India, in Rajasthan, and there are unique aspects there apart from flooding and so on, which we I think can share notes and exchange best practices. Okay, we are almost at the end of the show, but how can we complete a show about changing perceptions of India without talking about democracy and our political system? You know, this is the world's largest democracy. You are in the world's largest democracy right now. Our Prime Minister also calls it mother of democracy, because you know we have a tradition of consultative assemblies and early republics going back thousands of years in our ancient history. Of course, we had what we today call dictatorships and empires and absolute monarchies and kingdoms. Of course, we had despotic rule at many points in time, but we also had sparks of democratic traditions to the early republics many millennia ago. And you know, among the global south countries, India has been a successful democracy. The reason we are able to have this kind of a open and frank discussion with so many of you is because this is an open democracy, you know, where all kinds of views are allowed to flourish, and we have been able to manage the ethnic diversity also, you know, without we have avoided civil wars and so called you know, balkanizations and breakup of the country and all those things. So any thoughts on this aspect of democracy and what you are seeing in India? Our elections, you know, 700-800 million people vote in the national elections. They are free and fair, and there is absolutely no question about the results. Nobody challenges the results. Those who lose step down, and those who win come into power, you know, and there is turnover of power at the state level, at the national level. It's a very relatively speaking, a very efficient democracy, right? And all of you are journalists, you know, the media is called the the fourth estate, right, the fourth pillar of democracy. So you will find a variety of viewpoints expressed here in our newspapers, on television, on radio, and among the ordinary people without fear. So that aspect of democracy, what have you seen or picked up, and what do you think? I mean, why do you think India has been so successful? I mean, it's a mystery. I mean, some people are not sure as to, because according to the theory, India was supposed to become a dictatorship after independence. We didn't have the so called socio-economic structural conditions for a democracy to flourish as per the theory, but we have, against the odds and against all the predictions. There were only 2 years, 1975 to 77, when there was a breakdown of democracy in this country. During Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's time, she imposed an emergency, a national emergency, and restricted all the civil liberties. But that was short, and people rejected that, you know. So this great democracy, can it be a role model for any of you who are trying to build post-colonial societies, trying to stabilize your society, create a unified social fabric, and to reduce the tensions, and to create a free and fair system? Lot of our election commission officials and institutions actually also train election officials of other countries to conduct free and fair elections and to transfer best practices. So any thoughts on Indian democracy or what you have seen?
My name is Kelly Rwamapera. I'm from Rwanda. Really, India has a lot for several countries, especially African countries, to learn from. For example, as you know, African countries, they are small societies, but still there are divisions among them, and even the nationals themselves in several countries have these divisions. Being a fact that most African countries are just emerging from colonialism, especially the British and the Belgians, the French, but the way India is, I mean, this big society, the way it is, it's still united. It's working together with all that diversity. I think we even discussed it in our groups here, and we wondered why even African countries are just small societies. They are divided. I mean, we are not supposed to be divided like East Africa. I mean, we should be one country at least, but we don't have that. But even within these countries, there are a lot of divisions going on. I think we have a lot to learn from India. How did you come to this? How did you make it? How did you emerge from colonialism and become such a a big society, a big economy. It's a marvel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You know, the faith in democracy among the ordinary people in India is very high. It's not the elites. It's ordinary people who've been upholding this democracy, who believe in freedom. Because the theory was, you know, there was some so-called Asian values theory by Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew saying that Asian people don't need freedom and they can give up freedom in return for economic development. But in India, both are equally valued, you know. So we don't fit into that so-called Asian values model. It's a very unique, you know, example here. And of course, economic growth is also happening despite being a democracy. Maybe not as fast as China or Singapore, but we are catching up with them. Yeah. Any last thoughts on democracy? Yes, sir.
Absolutely. My name is Bahia, and I'm a journalist with the New Era newspaper from Namibia. I think one of the very important tenets of democracy for the people, it's a thing of not working in isolation. The element of seeking help when you need to. And when it comes to Namibia, I think the relation since 1990, and as a matter of fact, it manifested or started working way before our independence. It was already in the works. Over the years, India has invested a lot in Namibians in terms of capacity building, whether it's from business, whether it's education, diplomacy, and all of this stuff. And over the last 5 years, I've been reporting on something that I started calling as animal diplomacy. Animal diplomacy. Namibia gifted India cheetahs. Yes, so that is one of the things that really stands out. It's not only Namibia, it's Botswana and South Africa as well. But it's this very important element of society, democracy, openness, the will to seek help when you really need help. Because cheetahs is one of the animals, the big cats that were extinct in India because of human-wildlife conflict and all of this stuff. Again, another aspect that we really need to learn from one another, because we hardly cover animal diplomacy. So
or environmental issues.
Yes, environmental issues.
Wildlife and all that.
So it's all about democracy for the people.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Viewers, there's so much to learn from this group of senior media professionals that, you know, this show could run on and on, but we are out of time. The main takeaway of this discussion is that India is transforming so fast that it's an eye-opener. This group that is here in India from different parts of Africa is touring and meeting people and seeing for themselves the change that is underway. So this is the big story, and below that big story there are a lot of like specific sectors and issues which we discussed and went into in depth. There's also India's diplomacy and foreign policy in these regions. Our footprint is expanding, our you know, cooperative blueprints are growing, and new ideas are being formulated for expanding bilateral as well as regional connectivity and you know, partnerships with a lot of these countries. And the South-South model of cooperation, today India is probably the leading exponent of that, and we are the voice of the global South, and we have been able to bring the African Union fully into the G20 as a full member, and these are major accomplishments. And if you go forward, this potential for South-South cooperation is going to be enormous, and you know, it may reduce our dependencies on richer countries if we are self-reliant or mutually reliant on each other. And this is going to be transformative, because the history of all of us in Africa and here in Asia has been that we are still trying to break the shackles of colonialism in some form or the other. And how can we do that? It's only through friendship. And this group here is an example of this friendship that we are trying to develop through our Ministry of External Affairs. I want to thank them all for being here in India, being our ambassadors, unofficial ambassadors in your countries, and also for writing and talking and creating content as you go back to your countries that will help to maintain the momentum of this friendship with India and increase the visibility and likability of India in your countries. Our soft power is there already, but there's so much more to the India story that needs to be told, and you are telling it, and we are so grateful to you for taking your time and coming all this way and making this happen. Thank you so much. Thank you viewers for watching. That's all, and I'll see you again next time. Until then, take care.